Dorado's little cut on his face has gotten a little infected, so I had to put him on some antibiotics, but he seems to be healing pretty well now. So here's Dorado on day 8, and I've been really happy with this progress, especially from the day prior, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable being in the pen with him now. So right here I'm working on directing his feet backwards, and I'm tapping in the air, and then I give him a tap. And he's going a little sideways. I've been working on isolating his shoulders and his haunches, so that is another thing I will have to develop. Now you see I'm jumping up and down. I'm doing this to help create noise. So noise that's not directed to him. Actions, when I look at him and direct my energy to him, that's when he needs to pay attention. So it's that line of communication. If I'm acting goofy and jumping up and down, he doesn't need to pay attention to it. And all of this is preparation for safety. So, the running and the stomping, that's to mimic if I fall down, which sometimes I do. Anytime, all of this is just really good prep. And I found that with these horses in the beginning, we do everything kind of slow and steady to gain their trust, but then, you have to start getting them to get that bubble. And so right there, you'll see he reacted when I tilted my head down. And so now I have to over-exaggerate tilting my head down. To where he realizes that it's what I'm doing is not a threat. He's safe. And when I direct energy to him is when he can move. He doesn't need to worry when stuff is being weird. And he's also a horse that would really sit on the pressure of the halter. So I found isolating the shoulders and then isolating the haunches will help move the feet move forward. And so right there, he didn't quite move his hiney fast enough. And there have been a couple of situations where he would spin and the hiney would be right at my face. So again, this is preparation for safety. When I tap that air, the booty better move. And the same goes for the front end. When I go to the front end, the front end needs to move. Because again, he's actually come over the top of me when he's been in the dominant, when he wanted me to move out of the way, he just come over the top. So this kind of does a lot of things for me. This helps establish my bubble. It's helping establish clear communication in directing the feet and getting movement. And it's also helping him slow down his reaction process. So he's having to think more. So now you'll see his ears are starting to flicker. He's more so willing to drop his head versus being very kind of bracy. Like you'll see his head comes up and his eyeballs kind of get big, but they're getting softer and softer. And he's starting to respond to my voice as well. You see he gets a little guarded on that right side, but that's okay because then he allows me and I'm able to get into that right side. So I'm trying to make sure I kind of go back and forth between the left and the right. I tend to be a little bit more comfortable on the left, so you'll see me working that a bit more. So here I'm working the stick over my head, but it's not directed to him, and I'm going to start to back away. And the minute he starts to show a bit of curiosity, I'm going to stop and then rub him. You see I've got an ear cocked on me, and now I'm going to go back to directing his feet. So I kind of go back and forth between jumping up and down, rubbing him, and then directing his feet. Jumping up and down, rubbing him, doing weird stuff, trying to get him to be where I'm allowed in his bubble without him tensing up. But I go forward and back and forward and back. Stomping the ground, kind of looking different, using my stick in different ways. But again, it's not directed to him, so that doesn't mean anything. It's just noise. And he really has been a very interesting and fun horse to work with, because now is where the fun part happens. Seeing the change, it's rewarding for for me as well. And I'm working every time I pat, I'm trying to see how close I can get to that shoulder. See, he kind of turns his head at me and stands up a little bit bigger, and that's when he's trying to hold his ground and then thinking of coming over top, so I'm going to direct his feet again.
Good boy.
Tapping the air. He's pretty sensitive. I think he's going to be a really nice and soft horse once he lets go of the tension. So again, right here, he goes to run through the aid that I had, so I have to make sure I stay consistent with it, and I asked for him to yield to the right, which going to the right is tougher for him. He constantly wants to turn in and change direction so he can see me in his left eye. And then I go back to rubbing him with the stick and jumping up and down. I get a pretty good workout. Notice I'm sweating and he's not.
Nope, none of that right shoulder.
So again, he wants to turn in, and I'm going to make him change directions. Now I'm feeling more comfortable with him following me. And I'm going to get that booty to move away. And then I go to rub again. If I ever have to tap, and I have to tap him, then I make sure that I go back and I rub. So then I'm going to jump up and down again. Again, tons of repetition, tons of approach and retreat. And I'm just making sure I can get closer and closer. So for me, all the horses have zones. They have their nose, then their head, their neck, withers, the barrel or their rib cage, the top of their hip, the top of their tail, and then their tail. So kind of they allow me to get in the zones. He's always kind of liked me to go to his face first, and I'm trying to work my way further back towards the top of the hip. And he gets uncomfortable, and I'm just trying to stay there until he stops moving and the tension kind of goes away. So you see he's kind of all balled up a little bit. And I'm trying to do a little bit of approach and retreat with the stick. So I put the stick there, take it off, but I'm still jumping up and down. Waiting for him, waiting for him. It's gonna happen soon. There. So there I should have taken the pressure off a little bit quicker.
Good.
But instead I moved my stick further down. But he's getting the idea. And I was able to move my stick down. I got a little bit of reaction at the hock. So now I'm going to go back and ask again. He wants to move away. And every time I'm going to start up a little higher where he's comfortable and then move down where he's not comfortable, until he starts to understand that I can touch him there. And then when he does, and it was only, he would let me touch him in the beginning if everything was perfectly still and perfect. But I had to make it to where it was, different. So I was jumping up and down, and that would cause the tension and him not being sure. But then he's starting to understand. So now I can go back in and rub the shoulder. You can see he's still tensing up a little bit. But if I stay near his face, he's getting more comfortable because that's where he is more comfortable. But I'm feeling myself more comfortable being in his space. The energy isn't like bouncing off of me where I feel like I'm kind of in a shark tank. So now I'm going to go and work the left side. He got worried again when I moved it down by the hock. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other side. And I'm just going to hold it, move it down. And you can see the little black part of my stick. I'm going towards and back. So the top part of his croup, down by his tail, down by his hock, and then I'll move it back up until he starts to get comfortable with it being down there and with me jumping up and down. And I just have to stay patient here and keep staying consistent with it. So then if I'm not getting anything, then I'm going to move my stick further up like I did, and I got him to stop.
There.
And then I go back and I ask again. There we go. So there I was able to get a little lower, go back up to the top, move back down, go back up. Now I'm going to move his feet, changing the what I was doing. And there you see he was a little slow to move his haunches away.
Ho. Ho. Good.
And sometimes when I'm doing, the jumping up and down and working on touching, you need to go back to allowing their feet to move. When they kind of ball up and they're holding that tension, let the feet move around a little bit and then go back to touching again. So now he's still moving a little sideways. I'm just going to hold it there. He's doing better though. Right as I said that, he balled up a little bit more. But as I was saying, his one ear is on me. He's starting to lower his head a little bit. And you'll see I lift my hand up to keep that head away from coming over the top of me, because that's how he likes to protect himself. So he's still pretty goosey. I can get him to stand still there. Get him to stand still. Getting closer. We're getting closer. Just having to wait him out a little bit. And then I was able to get it. And then I go back to moving his feet, and now I'm back to the same part of the hip. And I'm going to go even slower now. And now I'm not jumping up and down yet because I want him just to stand. And there I took the pressure off. Now I'm going to bounce. Then I got it, and I was able to back away. Now I'm going to move the haunches. There we go.
Good boy. You're being super.
Now I'm going to ask him to walk a little bit and kind of walk around. Just move his feet some. He's still pretty nervous when I ask him to move out. He's constantly trying to turn into me. So again, it's where the work of isolating the shoulders and getting him to move away from the stick on the front part of his body has been really helpful. And then I'm able to direct the haunches as well.
Ho.
And then getting him to continue. Again, going to the right is his harder side. It's pretty typical of Mustangs. The right side is the tougher side.
Ho.
I'm actually really liking how he's got one ear on me.
Ho.
He's trying to stay pretty connected. And I go in and give him a rub. He's starting to understand the positive association with my voice and with the rub on his face. And now I'm able to walk up a lot quicker to his, again, I'm still kind of like in the head neck zone of walking up quickly. Oh, there you got a little nervous. And now I'm just going back and forth. You see I'm starting to pull on his neck a little bit. Now this is preparing for when I eventually do jump to get onto him. Kind of moving his body, like letting me kind of press against him without him bowing up is a big deal. And now I'm just running around, so he's learning to follow. And again, so it's very repetitious. Moving his feet, making noise, so he's learning to know what directed communication is and what is to ignore. And getting more comfortable with me in his bubble. So again, I have to stay on top of, like, it may seem like that he's got it, but again, with these guys, you have to stay pretty consistent, making sure that all of the cues are followed and you get them absolutely where they're totally happy being with you and comfortable. And again, he gets a little worried, so I just let him go and I send his feet forward. And I can use the stick right in that shoulder area so he can't turn. And then I'm going to rub. Then so he can, again, in the rubbing will be associated with relaxation. And this was a big deal right here because my working student popped out right behind him and he could actually see her. And so it can be pretty spooky for the wild guys when people just walk out of the barn right there because it catches them off guard. So the fact that he didn't spook or bolt when he could see her in his rear sight right behind him, that was a big deal for him. You see here, he likes to sit on that pressure, and now that I've got him to learn to move off of the stick. And now I'm just going to do a little practice with the rope going over his head, practicing like putting the halter on and off. So this was part 1 of this vlog. And then there's a little bit more to this session that will be in the following vlog. So hope you guys can stay tuned.